Hey everybody, I'm PJ DeCaesar, and if you think I'm going to sit through this without a beer, you are sorely mistaken. So this is Batman Forever 100%, and I've loosely been calling this a speedrun. I'll explain why that's not entirely true, but the final time of this is 1:25:26, somewhere around there. And this is being played on the SNES version. So, the 100% category in this game is rather interesting, and it's really more of a challenge run than a speed run. But it's a really interesting thing that I wanted to do, and so here we are. The only reason I'm calling it a speedrun is that my room order is done with the least possible amount of backtracking. So the sequence of playing through these stages is as efficient as I could find. And my combat is also just naturally really fast, because I am just naturally fast at playing this game, I suppose. I do have the record for any percent with Robin, and I guess technically with Batman as well. And Clage and I have the co-op record in this game. So yeah, the combat's really efficient, but there are a lot of lapses in memory and judgment as I've played through, and there are a lot of concessions made for safety so I don't fail the category. So the 100% category in this game is really strange. So at the end of every stage, the game has a tally for enemies, pickups, secrets, and blueprints, where applicable. And this is obviously rated on a 100% scale. There are some quirks, though. So the biggest one, the most important one for this category, is the enemy count. So 100% enemies is possible in every single stage. And in fact, in some stages in which the Riddler resides, you can exceed 100% if he spawns clones and you kill them. They count as distinct enemies for some reason. But in order for an enemy to count towards your total, you have to be the one that deals the finishing blow. So, if you hit an enemy and he falls off a cliff and dies, you don't get credit for the kill, so the category is failed. If an enemy jumps off a ledge of his own volition, the category is failed. If an enemy kills another enemy with a friendly fire attack, the category is failed. So there are a number of really interesting problems that this presents, and that'll explain some of the grouping techniques and some of the strategies that I'm using throughout the run. This game is also, it's notoriously cryptic just to beat in general. But if you're trying to get all of the secrets and all of the pickups, many of them are incredibly cryptic as well. So at the beginning of this stage, for instance, there are two paths you can take. There's a normal path just straight to the right in the first screen, and then there's the path that you can take if you grapple up into the ceiling. And both of those paths eventually take you to a bridge screen, so you would think that it doesn't really matter which path you take, but it's actually important that you clear out the bottom path first, and then backtrack before you reach the bridge screen, and then take the top path to the bridge screen, because the two bridge screens are actually distinct, and they give you different enemies, and the bottom bridge screen can be accessed through backtracking, whereas the top bridge screen can only be accessed by taking the top path. So there are a bunch of really weird quirks like that, where you have to do very specific things to spawn the right screens and the right enemies, and the right pickups. Also included in things that don't count towards enemy kills, environmental hazards. And that's a very important one. And these electric chairs are environmental hazards. So this is another backtrack here. We have to go into this room, we have to kill those two enemies. And killing those two enemies spawns the two health pickups in the top there. And it also spawns some things in the AAA room that we're going to go back to here. Yeah, so this, the waiting around after killing that dude, that's an example of why I'm only loosely calling this a speedrun. There's a lot of that in this run, where I don't remember which rooms have power-ups that spawn afterwards. I remember the sequence in which I have to play the rooms, but I don't exactly remember perfectly which ones spawn things and where they spawn things. So oftentimes I'll be waiting in like the far side of a room and nothing will spawn, and then I'll like run across the whole screen and the power-up will be on the other side. So yeah, take the speedrun definition as just a loose categorization. Yeah, so going to the electric chair room and killing those 2 enemies forced all of those other enemies to spawn in that previous room, and also the extra life and 2 health pickups in the room I just went through. And this is the simplest stage to 100% in. Actually, no, that's not true. I think stage 2 is probably more simple. So the pickups are pretty straightforward. The enemies are certainly not straightforward, and I'll be going over more and more of the exceptions to that rule. But the secrets in this game are just baffling to me. I don't know what the game considers a secret. That room, for instance, is a secret, but in this screen, right after the hold down here, when I went to the left on that top ledge, and you could hear the collection noise, just walking there behind the foreground counted as a secret. There are some other stages, stage 4 in particular, has a bunch of secrets that are just literally along the way, like jumping on a certain box will give you a secret. I found the values in memory, the RAM values for the enemy counter, pickup counter, secret, and blueprint counter, and I played through these stages when I was going through the routing for these, and I was trying to follow along, see if there's any kind of trend for what the secrets are, and it's just like random things here and there. But fortunately, the secrets counter actually works. It will always display 100% in every stage. The secrets and the enemy counter are the only ones that you can truly rely on. Actually, blueprints as well you can rely on in stages where there are blueprints. Excuse me. So, oh man. Yeah, this combat. This combat. So what I'm trying to do here with this moonwalking is set up these back rolls. So the roll attack here is arguably the best tool in the entire game for dealing with enemies. There's the back roll and there's the flashlight that I use quite frequently as well. There we go, 100%, 100%, 100%. You can pause the video and verify it yourself, but just believe me when I tell you they're all there. So the roll is not only useful for mobility, but it also knocks enemies down and deals damage to them. And for some reason, if you're facing away from an enemy, or if an enemy is in like hit stun, like after these grapple attacks, you'll see. Let me see if I do one here. Oh, he's gonna be dead. Maybe Buzzsaw. Yeah, well. So after I do the grapple into headbutt, I'll do it on this guy. Headbutt. I do a roll immediately afterwards, and when they're like off balance and getting staggered backwards, they don't actually have invincibility frames. So a roll will hit up to 4 times, I think. Usually I get 2 or 3 hits from it. I think 4 is the max, though. It turns out, I found this by complete accident, but it turns out if you're facing away from an enemy and you roll backwards through them, they also don't have iframes. So I really want to approach as many enemies as I can facing away from them, and then roll backwards through them and do damage that way. Nice. real nice grapple. Alright, so the up grapple that you have to do in this game to reach the higher levels is done by pressing select and then up, but it has to be done very shortly after each other. So like, you have to push select and then within a few frames push up. And the select button for anyone who's held a Super Nintendo controller, the select button on the Super Nintendo controller is not very good. If you're installing fresh pads in a Super Nintendo controller, like you just completely replace all the rubbers, you might get a few hours of life out of start and select. They're pretty rough. So yeah, I just straight up missed the select button trying to do that grapple, I think 3 or 4 times in a row. Yeah, so as far as combat goes, the roll is what we want to focus on for a lot of grouping, basic grouping things. The other important thing is that if we're backwalking, that is holding the strafe button and moving backwards towards an enemy, the short kick attack is the fastest attack animation in the game and has an extremely long reach. So it's really good just for like pushing enemies back and getting them into a range where you can do a back roll and land just on the other side of them and then grab them out of hit stun. So there we do almost exactly that, but instead of ending with a grapple, we ended with a forward roll to deal with the other enemies. Very, very little of the combat in this game is scripted. A lot of the combat is just completely based on improv, based on where the enemies decide to move. So I have general plans. I know what the highest DPS is, but things don't always go according to plan. Alright, so stage 2 is one of the longest stages in the game. It's the longest in any percent for sure, but there are only 2 secrets in it. And this is one. You have to go after the first 2 screens. When you get to the elevator after that, you have to climb up to the top and just grapple up. And apparently it cuts the tables in the elevator free falls, and you end up down here. I'm not exactly sure why, but that's that. So these blue things, the blue things with the W, I think it's a W actually. I've never really looked at that sprite very carefully. Those are the blueprints. So the blueprints are in stages 2, 3, 5, and nope, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Not stage 5. There are 4 blueprints in each stage, and if you collect all 4 of them in any given stage, you unlock a new gadget to use. Now, the gadgets in this game, I should probably make a separate video at some point, going over what all the controls are, and how all the gadgets work, and explaining the damage values for all of these, because it's really staggering at just how bad the gadgets are in this game. Very, very few of them are functional to begin with, and very few of the functional ones do anything meaningful. So, Robin has 2 of the best gadgets. He has the flashlight, or I think it's the Sonic Blast Gun or something. I don't know, it's the thing that looks like a flashlight. It shoots the blue cone in front of him and stuns a single enemy. There it is. That thing is completely busted. It cannot be blocked. It hits high and low. It anti-airs enemies if they try and jump. It's incredibly good. And blocking becomes a serious concern in this game as we get later. So the flashlight's incredible. It lets us set up a grab, which is the highest single damage attack in the game. And then after a grab, we can do the roll, and after a roll, we can do a back throw, and basically it just sets you up for a whole ton of free damage on any enemy in the game, which is spectacular. Batman has no ability that's even close to that. So there's that, and then there's the Heat Ray, which is Robin's gun. It's an extremely strong attack, but it's prone to being ducked for the same reason that enemies block. I'll go over that at some point in this video, I'm sure. So the blueprints allow us to unlock 4 additional abilities, and among those are the overall best gadget in the game and the absolute worst gadget in the game. The one we unlock from this stage happens to be the one that is the best in the game. And more on that later. So I think this is... No, we have 2 more screens. 2 more screens to go. This stage is unbelievably long. This stage is also really frustrating to do in 100% because there are so many of these objects that can be broken. But very few of them give you pickups, and I never remember which ones do and don't. So again, that's another thing, another reason why this is more of a challenge playthrough than a speedrun, because like I'm here shooting up. Normally when that background tile is there, the ceiling is breakable, but that's one instance where the ceiling is not breakable and not hiding a pickup. So yeah, I just waste a bunch of time all over the place breaking plants and statues and shooting at the ceiling. One other thing is that I believe some pickups were removed from this version. So I think the sequence of releases for this game were DOS, and then probably Genesis, and then probably SNES, and at some point Game Gear was one of them. But as we're going to see in this stage, the pickup counter is bugged. So in all of the stages where there are blueprints, on the SNES version, the game expects there to be 5 more pickups than there actually are. And I don't remember if that's... I don't remember if the Genesis version has extra pickups in these breakable spots, or if it just remedies the blueprint counter issue. So, like, I'm assuming that of the 5 pickups that the game thinks are in this stage, 4 of them are blueprints, and it tries to double count them and fails. That's what I'm assuming, but I'm just not sure. So in the Genesis version, the maximum pickup collection you can get in this stage is 97%. That's 39 out of 40. In this version, the maximum that you can get is 87%, which is 35 pickups out of what the game expects to be 40. This is the other secret in this stage. After the screen that has Dreamstorm and Tarantular, all you have to do is break the top of the elevator and then jump forward. And I don't even know what this... I don't know. I don't know why this brings you into a separate room, but it does. So that's where we are now. So yeah, the pickup screen at the end of this is going to say 87%, and I'm assuming it's because of some double counting issue with the blueprints and some missing pickups that aren't in this version. Because playing the same exact route through DOS version, Genesis version, and this version all give different percentage totals. And I double-checked with some other videos. Kondo Ken had some really good all secrets, all pickups guides on his YouTube channel, for which I'm extremely grateful. And there were a few other YouTube videos that I watched of people showing all of the secrets and pickups in these stages, and they came up to the same totals that I did. So yeah, I think it's just a porting issue, or again, just like the game expecting blueprints to count towards your pickup totals or something. I'm not sure exactly what the issue is, but rest assured, I've done everything I could to find the pickups, and I believe these are all of them. So in this screen, this is the last screen before the what we call the train, which is incorrect. It's actually the vault. I have to make sure I don't kill Mac before I get the 3 pickups that are in this screen. Because once you kill him, the screen loads. So this is the first really big failure point. Oh man, I was for a second there wondering if I had the right recording, because it looked like Hunter was just gonna jump straight off the edge. So these dudes are really unpredictable, and what I try and do is just do crouch punches in the middle of the vault. This is the screen, the opening scene from the movie, where Two-Face steals the vault and they're flying over Gotham with it. But yeah, if an enemy jumps off the side of this, the category's failed because you don't get credit for the kill. So I've memorized all of these spawn positions, and for the spawns when there's just a single enemy, I'm just gonna stun them with the flashlight and then do grab into re-stun. For these situations where there are pairs of enemies, I'm trying to stand slightly off to the side, and then when the far enemy gets close to me, I'm going to back roll through them, and it just does a little bit more damage. And what I do during many of these fights is just allow myself to be killed. Either allow myself to be thrown off or just drop through the floor voluntarily. And that'll give me iframes and a chance to just like do a grab and get some big damage on these enemies without them jumping off the ledge. And this doesn't work 100%. Sometimes the enemies, one will throw me off the ledge and the other one will jump off the ledge after me. And there's nothing you can do about it, but this just happens to be one run that worked out. So, again, the back roll is extremely good here for doing damage to enemies. The AI in this game is just baffling. So even though I was dead and falling off the ledge, it's very common for an enemy to just chase you off the ledge anyways and kill you. Or kill themselves. But yeah, everything worked out here. So we're going to see 100% enemies, 87% pickups, 100% secrets, and 100% blueprints. I believe Bayfield is the last one. Yes. It's also worth mentioning that you get credit for the kill the moment that you deplete an enemy's health. You don't actually have to see them die. So even though Bayfield's, the finishing blow knocked him off the vault and he fell into a pit, the moment I headbutted him, he died. So it doesn't matter if I actually watch him land and flicker away. I got credit for the kill immediately after that. Alright, so stage 3 is the circus. It is nearly impossible to fail this stage in 100%. This is one situation where it almost was possible. These little pits, again, count as death traps for enemies, so I had to make sure that Cuddles was dead before I opened up that hole. But as long as you're at least somewhat aware of your surroundings, it's not too bad. So I don't think I changed my gadgets in this stage. I think I only changed them for stage 4. Or I don't think I use them in 5 either. I think it's just stage 4. So this is another level that's actually so I kind of lied. It is actually pretty tough in 100%, but not from the perspective of enemies killing themselves and failing the category that way. It's really hard to remember where the pickups spawn and what the triggers are for them. So I've, like, over there hidden behind a foreground object was a pickup that only spawns after all the enemies are killed. And there are quite a few of those situations in this stage. So I have actually failed runs in this stage from just, like, forgetting to backtrack to a corner of a room after clearing the screen. I guess now is a pretty good time to mention how the enemy difficulty works. So this run's being played on hard mode, for no other reason than to brag about playing on hard mode. The difficulty in this game really does nothing at all except impact the number of lives that you start with. And at my level of play and in this category, that's just a completely moot point. So in easy you start with 6, and normal you start with 5, and hard you start with 4. By the end of this run, I'm probably going to have well over 50 spare lives. You collect so many of them if you know where they are. And at the score tally screen, if you have 100% in any of those categories, the game awards you an extra credit as well. So just for 100%ing stage 1, I got 3 more credits. And for 100%ing blueprints and secrets and enemies in stage 2, I got an extra 3 lives. And through the process of actually getting those secrets and pickups, I've accumulated, 7 or 8 extra lives per stage. So, yeah, lives are not going to matter. So the difficulty does not impact the enemy aggression level at all. The aggression level is tied to the specific enemies themselves, and I believe the loop of the game. So after you finish... Alright, so it's not even after you finish the game. It's... the game never clears memory between runs. So, like, the best example of that is in this stage. So there's a timer here, and if the timer expires, then you game over. Let's say I finish this stage with 6.5 minutes on the clock. If I were to play through the game again without power cycling my Super Nintendo, instead of starting this stage with 5 minutes, I would start with 6.5 minutes. So that's the most obvious implication of this. But what I've noticed is that the enemy aggression level continues to ramp up as well. So if I do 5 attempts that make it pretty deep into the run and I don't reset between them, I'll notice that the enemies in stage 1 are starting to block me more frequently and use some abilities that they never use otherwise. And in situations like that. So between every attempt, I'm actually power cycling the Super Nintendo to make sure that it behaves consistently. It would be rather interesting, and by interesting I mean interesting for Batman Forever standards. But but it would be interesting to see how many loops you could play through before it just gets impossible. Because the timer in this stage doesn't reset at any point, so you'd have to make sure that you're gaining time or only losing like 10 seconds per loop. But it would be interesting to see just how difficult the enemies end up getting. So anyways, on a fresh power cycle, a fresh boot up, what determines the enemy aggression level is strictly the enemy itself that you're fighting. So you get into these weird situations where, like, you'll be on stage 7 or something, and you'd think that all of the enemies would be more difficult than stage 1, but there are some enemies that just never attack. They'll just stay there in place and get beat up. And then you also have situations where, you know, there are some enemies in stage 3 that are just unbelievably good, and they block everything that you try and do, and they seamlessly stitch together all of their attacks and just completely murder you. It's really interesting. So I've just kind of gotten used to which enemies present a real problem, and I have to either isolate them or take some other drastic measures to make sure that they're eliminated without some other problems. Because the higher aggression level the enemy, the more likely it is for them to do something reckless, and that would include like rolling after you, or doing a frame-perfect counterattack, or jumping after you if you fall down a hole. Pretty much if an enemy has a high aggression level, they're a high risk of suicide. And if they do that, then the category is failed, and I have to restart. So, yeah. Alright, so that secret way off to the right, you have to access by just killing everything. And then those 2 pickups in the bottom left are only available after killing everything. So I just reset the screen after going in the secret room and getting the blueprint. Drop down to the previous one, reload this one, and then go grab those pickups. Those were all the secrets in that state. Oh, no, that's not true. There's one more. The Millhouse room. I always forget that that one's actually technically a secret, but it is. So this stage isn't too bad. The one thing I've had to do to fight muscle memory here is that I normally break open that floor and then kick these clowns in it because it instantly kills them, and it's really, really fast to do that instead of just killing them, because Mungo and Bootsy have pretty high aggression levels. But again, if they fall down that hole, then the category's failed. Alright, so in stage 3, we just have one more enemy to kill, and then we defuse the bomb, and that's GG. Looks like a net gain of about a minute on this stage too, which is pretty neat. So, yeah, the weapon that we unlock here with these blueprints is by far the worst gadget in the entire game, and that is the Racket Boots. So the Racket Boots use up a gadget slot, so you're already suffering because you don't get to use anything else. But it has about a 2 full second startup, and then propels Robin or Batman forward about, I don't know, 5 character lengths, and then you fall straight down. And the boot up and the jet forward are completely vulnerable. You can be hit out of them and they do no damage. So there's just no benefit to using them at all in any situation. It's just terrible. But what I equipped there is the Bat Hologram, and that's what we got from stage 2. And I'll mention that a bit later. First, I have to go over briefly how this stage is structured. So this is Two-Face's warehouse, and this is by far the longest stage in the game. I think this is like 20 minutes long or 18 minutes long or something. And this is with routing out the most efficient way to get through these rooms. So I have to clear the first screen because there are power-ups that spawn on the left side only when the screen is cleared. And that takes us to this extra screen. I have to not break this block because I need to jump over it. If I break that block, then the category's failed because there are secrets and enemies and blueprints over here. And then there's some pickups that only spawn at certain camera positions. So to get that health pickup to spawn, those enemies have to be dead, and the camera has to be high enough above the fight, or above the ground rather. Otherwise, it just will never appear. In this stage, it's just a real asshole about that. Oh, speaking of a real asshole, this I threw the enemy past the boundary of the screen, kind of. So he actually can't be hurt. But the bat hologram was active, so he was never going to attack me. I guess now is the time to mention what that does. The bat hologram completely deactivates enemy AI. They will never take action when the bat hologram is active, unless it's from a counterattack or something. So enemies have like their normal AI where they'll attack, you know, they'll see where you are and they'll choose an attack based on your position. But they also have the Super Turbo AI, where they will just read your inputs and react accordingly. So, even if a bat hologram's active and you do an attack, an enemy might duck or roll or counterattack with a fireball or something. But in that instance, that dude was out of bounds, technically, and the bat hologram was active, and I couldn't hurt him. So I had to wait for the hologram to expire, and then for the enemy to get aggroed and chase me chase me back inbound so I could kill him. So that's the first secret, off to the left. This is secret number 2. You have to shoot this whatever the thing is, and it drops and breaks the floor open. And now we have Danger Zone, because we have extremely low health enemies. That dude spawns with literally 0 health, but you have to do the finishing blow. So if he touches the acid at all, he dies and you fail. This green stuff, there you go. Excellent demonstration, past PJ. The green stuff does damage to you. So, once again, narrow platform, very, very narrow platform. This is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to jump over Mikey and hit him back towards the platform. And instead I grabbed these screw things. So now I'm kind of panicking and hoping that Mikey doesn't do anything reckless, and he doesn't. Yeah, that was a really close call. If Mikey decided to be a saboteur there, he could have ended the run. Not to be confused with actual saboteur, who I think is an enemy in this game. But yeah, anyways, after you do that, you just break a hole in the ceiling, climb back up. I think there are like 2 pickups down there, but a few enemies and a secret. So this is where things get really confusing. This screen, I think this is screen 2. Nice. That little dancer is because he was constantly blocking me. We came up through the ceiling of like the middle of the screen. What we have to do now is clear the screen of all the enemies and most of the pickups, and then proceed and then backtrack a number of times. This screen is a tremendous pain. I think I lost like a minute in this screen, in this screen first visit. So certain waves of enemies will only spawn after certain other waves of enemies are completed. So after killing Tough Sai, I believe I have to go all the way back. Oh, maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. I might be thinking of a different one. We'll see. At the very least, there's another wave of enemies that was unlocked after killing Tough Sai and the other ones that were on the ground, Dark Love and Big John and Tough Tony. You have to do this really tight grapple dismount onto Swing. And it's really tricky because in certain places in this game you can't glide. So the easiest way to set it up is to... oh, that's unfortunate. I was holding strafe, and strafe plus down drops you through floors. But I was holding strafe because I was going to do a back roll, I think. So yeah, normally you would dismount and then do a cape glide there, and then cancel the cape glide into the swing. But sometimes when you load this screen, the cape glide is disabled in only this area of the screen. So you have to cleanly dismount onto the screws. And this is a really good indication of how this game functions, because it's just a total mess. The window for this is remarkably small. and then and then I drop through the floor again. I'm just gonna go ahead and sip my beer until sugar is destroyed. Alright, good. So that is by far the biggest hiccup in the entire run, and I think it's just beautiful. Really great representation of the game. So after those enemies are dead, we can go kill Darkguard and Benny. And after they're dead, we can go up one more floor and defeat Sugar. Now, that clears all of the enemies in this screen, and that opens up a whole bunch of things for us. But it has to be done in a very specific order, or else you end up locking yourself out of things. So that door right next to Sugar was just opened up. But that door connects to screen, I think, 5 in this level. So that was screen 2, we're moving into screen 3. What we have to do in screen 3 is clear it, so it opens up the doorway to screen 4. Because if we don't do that, then we won't be able to backtrack back to screen 2 from screen 5. So we're just opening up a path to backtrack later. It's just a needlessly complex design. And again, what I did there was set up the bat hologram so that those enemies wouldn't be reckless and roll into the acid. Spike is known to do that. So that was just to set up the bat hologram and then the damage boost backwards to keep the bat hologram on screen so it doesn't despawn. And then the 2 neck breakers to kill him. Just really precise camera control. Well, precise isn't the right word. Calculated is the better word for this, because it definitely is not precise. It's just something that you have to have premeditated. Alright, so one other cute thing here. Killing him opens up the door, but there's a pickup that spawns at the top of the screen over here. So I have to, again, jump over here and glide at the peak of my jump to get this thing to spawn. And it spawned twice there because it spawned and then fell off the screen and despawned itself and then had to respawn. But having cleared this screen, we've opened up the path between screens 3 and 4, so now we're able to backtrack. So now we're going to go back to screen 2, climb up to the top, and go through the room that I really didn't give a nickname to. So, the other neat thing about this room is that after killing all the enemies, it puts more power-ups in the upper left, where we were originally. And the pathing of this screen is just again, needlessly complex. I don't know how... Oh, look it! I was able to glide this time. It was undeactivated. It was really nice of them. I'm not sure how anybody was expected to figure this out on their own. I don't even think the player's guide helped with any of these pickup and secret locations. The instruction manual certainly did not. Alright, so this screen is the sole reason why we have the bat hologram equipped in this stage. All of the other setups, with like using the bat hologram and the acid pits so the enemies don't kill themselves, all of that could have just been mitigated by using the gun and just shooting them instead. But this enemy cannot be handled that way. Not this enemy, but the enemy at the end of this screen. So again, this is just some calculated bat hologram use. And all of these damage values are calculated so that I do one head smash and then a crouch punch and then another one to kill them. All of their health values are pretty precisely planned out here. Alright, so here's the dude. This is Dark Hand, I think. He spawns on the edge of a box. Dark Ninja. Nice. And if he takes any action at all there, you fail. So there's an extremely precise position to place that bat hologram so that when he spawns, he won't do a kick or a jump or a roll or anything like that. He'll fall, he'll spawn and be completely incapacitated. And then I just have to be really careful so that my grab is actually a grab and not a kick or anything else like that. These crushers are also an environmental hazard, so I have to be careful that I don't like knock an enemy down into the crusher and have him get crushed. The crusher isn't very damaging. It does maybe 1 to 2 letters of health on these enemies, so it's not a real big threat, but it has ended rounds before, so just being extra careful. So screen 4, this is the passageway that we opened up by doing screen 3 earlier, and this is just a clean backtrack. There's nothing different in this screen. Alright, and the reason we have to come back here is because that dude that we just killed, the box dude, Dark Ninja, he was guarding a switch. So, after we killed him, we jumped over a stack of boxes and we kicked, and you could hear and maybe see for a few frames an explosion animation. That was the switch that we kicked, and that opens up, or rather it destroys one box in one screen here that reveals an extra life or a blueprint or something. So, the screen we're about to go to is, actually no, we're going to take the proper entrance, so you actually get to see it. If I were to have fallen off of any of those boxes or anything in the screen with Dark Ninja, it would take me into this basement screen. So, yeah, we're just gonna go up here and immediately drop down and collect all the stuff. And the basement screen is another really strange one where many of the drops are tied to things in the other screens of this stage. So like the number of enemies that are alive in the screen that I was just in and dropped down from, whether or not the switch was hit, number of enemies that are alive in this stage determines pickups. So that box that exploded and dropped the blueprint, I believe that was the one that the switch opened up. I think. I'm hesitating there because there's some other stuff in screen 6 that suddenly gets opened up as well. Alright, so killing those enemies makes the extra life appear. The extra lives are two-face coins in this. The extra lives can also sometimes give you full health. So when you collect a two-face coin, sometimes it'll show the clean heads, and other times it'll show the scratched heads side. The clean head side gives you full health in addition to an extra life, and the scratched head gives you just an extra life. We used to think it was based on the actual animation of the turning of the coin, but I think it's based on some kind of timer that seems consistent with the screen. But I've never really cared too much to look into it. It has not been a big factor in any of these runs. Alright, so we're going up through this room because we are going to go back to screen 5. And the fastest way to do that is to just fall through here instead of going through screens 3 and 4. The empty room with the pickup that's above the screen and the crusher room. So this screen is rather annoying because Chainsaw is a pretty high aggression enemy, and he has a tendency to back throw you into the loading zone. Daddy cool. Alright, and I think this has a blueprint or an extra life or something in the upper left. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it does now. Yeah. So something, I still am not exactly sure, but something that we did previously spawns that blueprint up there. I don't know what room that's tied to. I don't know if that is also a result of hitting that switch by Dark Ninja. I don't know if that's a result of just clearing some of the other screens. I have no idea. All I know is that it's not there taking the any percent route, and it is here with this route. Again, like, this game is ordinarily pretty cryptic to get through, but when you want to try and get every pickup and every secret, it just makes no sense at all. So that's everything that we can collect right now. There is going to be one more backtrack because clearing this screen, the final screen, drops an extra life in screen 5 there, the outdoor level. So there's not too much to mention about this one. This one's pretty similar to the any percent route. There are 3 switches here that you have to hit. I don't think the order matters. I always do bottom left, upper right, upper left. I do know that this order will spawn all of the pickups and all of the enemies that I need, but I don't know if that's the switch order that you actually need to complete the screen. Really good luck from enemies there. The back roll into grab combo is super good. It can be blocked, but it's pretty rare that they block it. Normally you can just grab straight out of hit stun. One other thing that I like to do is something you'll see here. I roll into an enemy that's stunned, and you can grab an enemy while they're being tripped, and a roll is a knockdown. So I'm rolling into them and they're getting tripped, and I'm doing a command grab while they're falling down, and then I get the full grab damage, and then I get to roll through their iframes again after that. So it just does a tremendous amount of damage. And that setup can't be blocked as long as you space it properly. So it's really great. Okay, there's our extra life. That's the last pickup in the stage. Once again, this is a blueprint stage, so the pickup count is off, as it was in the previous level as well. We collected 38 blueprints, or nope, I'm sorry, 38 pickups, and the game thinks that 43 is the max, so it's going to display 88% at the end of this stage. Alright, so the final screen is the refight with Sugar and Spice. I don't want to fight them both at the same time because things can get out of control in a hurry. So I'm going to fight Sugar. Nope, Spice. Wow, you know, I think I called her the wrong name in the middle of this stage. I'm sorry. Spice and then Sugar. So taking the bat hologram has some serious implications on this boss because the gun is what you normally want to use. Gun does a lot of damage, and Two-Face can only be hurt with high attacks, things that hit his face. And without using gun, you really don't have many good options for this. So what I'm going to do is just try and get clean uppercuts to force him in the corner, and then just mash high punch and hope that he walks into it. Two-Face is an unbelievably annoying enemy to fight. Sometimes this works. I don't remember if he hits me out of this or not. I think we're good. Wow, what a fight. Very nice. 88%? Beautiful. Yeah, so Two-Face's attacks are depending on what direction he's facing, and he has quite a few different attacks that he can use, depending on that. It's actually a really cool design. But if he's facing left, he has a chance to use a completely invincible health restoring attack. Well, attack's the wrong word, but action. He'll flip a coin, and he's completely invincible during the entire animation, and refills like 3 or 4 letters of health. And he can chain that as many times as he wants, so he can get a full heal if he decides that he earns it. And it really sucks. And if he's facing the right, then he can shoot you with a gun, which is extremely damaging. I don't remember if it's an instant kill or not, but it certainly feels like it. Okay, so stage 5. I didn't switch off the bat hologram, and I'm not exactly sure why, because I'm pretty sure that gun is what I wanted to use in this stage. Oh, no, it's not, because of the Savage setup, that's right. So yeah, ignore me. But this stage is the shortest stage in any percent, and one of the longest in 100%. No, that's probably not true. I think if I were to look at my splits, I would see that that's not true. It's still probably one of the shortest. But this stage, this is a screen you never want to visit, but we have to visit it. All this screen is punishment for falling elsewhere in the stage. So the whole stage is just set up to be like this dual level design, where the top level where we started is just like 4 screens long, 4 consecutive screens long. And if you fall on any of those screens, it drops you into a different position in this basement. And the basement is just one continuous hallway. And there are 16 different enemies that spawn here. So there are 4 different spawn points stretched horizontally across here. And you basically just walk left to right, spawn them one at a time, kill them, and then walk right to left, kill them one at a time. But this is this is a real thumb killer and a real mind killer, because it's relatively uninteresting, right? Like, these enemies are such high aggression that you can't do anything cute against them. Like, you literally have no options besides flashlight, into grab, into maybe roll. But like you could see there, Reginald jumped out of my roll attack. Like, while he was being hit, he decided he was just gonna jump free of it. So like basically what I do is flashlight, roll, grab, flashlight. Man, see, I'm trying to get cute here. I'm gonna get punished, I'm pretty sure. One thing that's really nice here, well, it's not really nice, but it's amusing to me at least, is the enemy names. And a lot of them are just like random-ass enemy names. Okay, there's Gregory, there's Freddy, and then like Tarantular afterwards. But some of the rooms are themed, and those rooms are really, really fun. So the first few enemies of this are all named after like windstorms. There's Dust Devil, Cyclone, Tornado. I think Eddie is one of them as well. And now they're just, I don't know, now they're just whatever names. Houdini I really like. Houdini's really good. Houdini is also my Q. Houdini is the 4th spawn on the far right, if I remember right. Maybe my Q's been wrong this whole time. I guess we'll find out. There should be 3 more enemies if I'm correct. Yeah, stage 2 has some really nice themed enemies too. It has one room that's all after like machinery or equipment, like sledgehammer and lathe. And the vault fight at the end of stage 2 has like a bunch of famous rugby players apparently. Ubogu is the one that someone in my chat had recognized. Like, wait, is that Victor Ubogu? Wait a minute, I think I know these guys. Which is pretty cute. So yeah, after you kill these 16 enemies, the game just drops like a whole bunch of stuff. It gives you 3 lives and 2 health pickups, and then away you go. So, we have 2 enemies left to kill in this first screen, and then we have the most dangerous room in the entire game. So this stage's gimmick is all these trapdoors, and some of these switches spawn enemies, and some of them open up trapdoors, and I have to know exactly what each of these do. Otherwise, enemies will fall in a hole, and the category will be failed. Remember, I have to kill every enemy in the stage by my own hand. Oh, Fruitcake? What a great enemy name. Alright, so first screen's cleared. Second screen, I have to follow this exact choreography, or everything is going to fall apart. So, the most important thing about this screen, I mean, the whole screen's extremely tight, but here's the reincarnation of Dark Ninja, one of the few names that gets reused. There's an enemy in this screen that spawns falling in a hole. So I have to do this really elaborate setup so that I can kick him so that he doesn't kill himself, so that I'm able to kill him myself. So yeah, like you have to hit these switches and open up the trapdoors in order to spawn the next waves of enemies. But Savage will only fall after certain pitfalls are already opened. So what I'm doing here is getting Dynamator in this exact spot, and then I'm going to incapacitate him. Now I'm going to delay a jump kick to knock Savage over the pit, and then I'm going to back throw him to safety. And the bad hologram is just barely on screen still. So while it's on screen, I'm just going to kick Link and make sure he's dead, and then kill Savage this way. And it is unbelievably tight, because both of those enemies have counterattack AI, like input reading AI, and they're hard-coded to counterattack with a roll, or the chainsaw dash. And if they do either of those actions, there's a very good chance that they're just going to go straight into one of the pits. So it requires really precise spacing and execution, on top of good luck, because I need them to not counterattack. And then we have this room, which is ordinarily just a complete disaster. Like, it's so terrifying, because again, if you fall off these girders, you go down into the basement, the room with 16 enemies. And these enemies, again, have a really high tendency of killing themselves. I took a gamble there and assumed that my neckbreaker would kill Bedlam, because I knew it was going to knock him off the platform. But yeah, these guys, like Mr. Gray and Brainstorm, they have a really good chance of just, like, rolling off a ledge, and then having the girder collapse under him. So, yeah, it's a really scary section. And there's one more. I think it's on the next girder. Yeah, we've got these guys to kill first. I'm in a bad spot right now. A back throw would have ended the run. A lot of things would have ended this run. Holy smokes. Alright, so there's one pickup that spawns here after all of the enemies are dead. So I'm gonna buffer a back jump out of a roll. I need that girder to break in order to spawn this full heal. And that's the only way to do that without a screen revisit, which costs a lot of time. So with that, all of the enemies are dead, all of the pickups are acquired, we just have to fight the Riddler. Again, as I said before, if the Riddler spawns a thug, then my kill count would be like 102% or 103%. No, it looks like 102. There are 61 enemies in this stage. So I would have killed 62 out of 61. Alright, and then the stage ends when you kick the upper left switch. Oh no, I'm sorry, that was stage 5. There are 42 enemies in that stage. Yeah, so I would have killed 43 out of 42. Alright, we're gonna equip the gun again for stage 6. Because we need it. And stage 5, again, the pickup count doesn't match what is real. So I collected 13 pickups and the game thinks that there are 16, but I've never seen anyone collect more than that. I don't believe that those exist. But that's the only stage where it doesn't have blueprints and the pickup total doesn't match. Again, I'm not really sure. If someone knows where those pickups are, please let me know. And I'll be forced to redo the run, but at least it'll be accurate. Alright, so with all things considered, stage 6 is relatively simple. There are a lot of screens, but it's a relatively linear stage. The only real concern in this stage is the train screen. And I'm going to be playing that extremely cautiously. So, these first two are fine. Again, there's really no way that I can fail this category in these screens. There are no pitfalls. As long as I'm like waiting around for the pickups to spawn, I'll be fine. Really solid play there by Eclipse. Really solid. Gotta respect it. This is where the frequency of high aggression enemies starts to really pick up, so the combat gets pretty tight. I believe this is... yeah, this is the train riding screen. So this is a screen that hasn't killed any runs, but it's always kind of scary. So the gap between the trains is not instant kill, but it is damaging terrain. And enemies do have a tendency to fall in there if they do like chainsaw dash or a roll or something as a counterattack. But generally the enemies on the train aren't terribly high aggression, so they normally won't do like input reading stuff. But I still just want to make sure that like when I do a head smash or something, then I'm not going to be knocking him into the pit. Like that back throw, which almost threw Cinder straight into the hole. That surely would have killed him, and I would have been extremely sad. Wow, I'm actually very surprised I went for that. That must have been a mistake. I must have assumed that that was gonna kill him or something. I don't know why else I would have gone for it. The only thing tricky with this screen, in terms of completion percent, is nice, the double stun lock. Flashlight's better. That's just a really good indication of how long Flashlight lasts. It's really insane. But after you kill all the enemies on this screen, if you go to the far left, there's a full heal. Rotating bat symbol. Okay. So this is the screen. There are two hazard types here. There's the electrified train rails themselves, which only damage me, thankfully. And then there's the train. And, normally, I'm able to kill these two guys without incident, but I got pretty unlucky and I got hit by some stuff at the beginning, and I just kind of lost track of timing, and I didn't want to get like halfway through killing them and then have the train come through. So I took that super safe. The train damage doesn't appear to be consistent either. Sometimes it hits them and does 1 letter of damage, and other times it does 3+. So I just wanted to be perfectly safe and make sure that they had completely full health for when the train came rolling through. This is a nice dude here. This is Justice. I like him a lot. He's a good guy. He wants to be a superhero someday. So this train screen has 4, I believe. Secret 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is there 5? No, there are 6. 6 secrets that are branching off from this train screen. But it looks like 4 of them. Yeah, it looks like 4 of them are just holes in the top. So there's a lot of stuff to collect here. And I actually don't remember myself now. At one point I did, but while I was doing this run I forgot and then panicked. I don't remember how the timing of the trains work. I don't remember if it resets every time you load this screen, or if it's a continuous timer. So like if the game remembers a train just passed through and the timer is reset, or if it's going to be the same time as the first train. Either way, I killed those 2 enemies, and now I'm just going to wait. I'm going to go up, collect stuff, wait for the train to pass again before I kill anything else. The one hitch here, like this stage is mostly pretty relaxing. I actually really like this stage quite a lot. This is an extremely mean secret though, just hidden in the ceiling of another secret ceiling room. But yeah, one hitch here is the final ceiling gap in the train screen has a pickup that only spawns when all of the enemies are dead. But the floor underneath that ceiling gap breaks when the last enemy is killed. So not only do I have to manage the train timing, but I have to recognize which enemies I've killed, because the enemy spawns in that screen are just like completely fair game. It'll spawn based on camera and based on available enemy. Like only 2 enemies can be spawned at once, so if there's 1 enemy spawned, depending on where the camera is, it's going to try and spawn another one. That's all that determines the spawns in the train screen. So I just have to make sure that I'm keeping track of which enemies I've killed, so I know what the last enemy is, and I have to make sure that the last enemy dies as I'm being pulled up into the top screen. And as we saw in stage 2, when I did the 4 empty jumps in a row trying to up grapple, it's a really finicky input that can just fail sometimes. Okay, so I've gotten hit a lot here. I'm actually really surprised I went ahead and tried to kill Mutant. I will certainly not try and kill Barbarian or Spellfire. Yeah, here we are. So it should just be these 2 enemies and then Blaze. Blaze should be the last one. I'd be very surprised if I didn't wait another train cycle for Blaze. Oh, and I'm not. Okay. Alright, so we knocked him down. We did the up grapple. The floor broke. So if we missed the grapple there, the category's failed. There's no other way to make it up there. And all the enemies are dead, so that 1-up spawns. And after having grabbed that, I knew that I was guaranteed to 100% this stage, and I could breathe a breath of fresh air. That train is completely unfazed by the hole in the tracks. Just rolls right on through. The combat in this game, I really just cannot emphasize enough how bad it is. Like, this whole game is just terrible. But I really enjoy playing it just because it's so rewarding to actually get this garbage engine to actually do what you're trying to do. And I think I've talked myself into it in the recording of this, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to make a like an extended comprehensive tutorial for this game to go over like all the gadgets, all the damage values, the inputs for all of these things, just to try and shed some more light. Well, to first of all help people who are trying to figure out how to play this game, because the guides that are out there are conflicting, not entirely accurate. But also to shed some light on just how the controls work or don't work. Alright, so the last few secrets are through the floor here. Just a cool sequence of rooms here. It's just 3 rooms in a row, but they're gated off at first. So we go defeat some dudes. Defeat Stonker. It's a really great name. Yeah, and then I think we have to go to the right, and then we clear the right, we come back to the center, kill some dudes, go to the left, kill some dudes, go to the center, and get a whole bunch of loot. I feel like the game just stopped being creative with the loot distribution. Because like stage 2, you know, they were putting 1 power up here and there, and you'd clear a screen, you'd get, you know, a single extra life, or a single green health packet or something. And then we get to like this stage. This dude's just straight up terrorist. Not a good nickname. But yeah, we get to this stage, and you know, stage 5, where I cleared the basement and I got 5 power-ups in a row. So all of these rooms just give you nothing, and I didn't remember that when I was playing through. And you know, you can see me like visibly waiting around there for something to drop, and nothing is. But I believe in these screens it just saves all of them for when you clear these 5 screens, and it just drops all of them at the end. Man, back roll is so good. Yeah, alright, here we are. just drops 8 pickups, a blueprint, and then I think it drops like 12 more or something here. I think it's gonna. These, Elijah just used an attack there that's extremely dangerous. We didn't really see these guys do too much, but these Riddler holograms or clones, whatever they are, they're super, super dangerous enemies. Yeah, here we go. just a stack of power-ups. Is that gonna bonk? No. Yeah, those Riddler clones have a lot of attacks that are just insane. I think actually in this run we get to see quite a few of them in stage 8. I get caught in a pretty nasty loop. 90% pickups. That's the last stage where it'll display incorrectly. Again, it's a stage with blueprints, so the pickup count is off by 5. We collected 45, and the game expects there to be 50. And yeah, as I said before, if anybody knows or can prove that there are other pickups available, please let me know. I'd be interested in hearing about it. But I think it's just a port issue. But yeah, these Riddler clones, they've got 2 attacks in particular that are just really nasty to deal with. That's one of them, the portable hole in the ground, straight from Acme Industries. I don't know how it works. I'm not gonna lie to you here. It just... They throw it on the ground, and if you fall in it, you either just get yours, or you take no damage. I don't know what happens. It looks like you fall on the ground, but, like, I don't think your hitbox disappears, so they can just keep wailing on you. and the hole itself does like some damage over time effect, but again, it just doesn't make any sense. Only danger here is that a pickup spawns after the enemy is dead, and after the enemy is dead, the hole in the floor opens up. So I just have to make sure I'm clear of that. This stage is really interesting because you have to kill 36 of the 37 enemies in order to complete this stage. There is only a single enemy that you're able to skip in any percent, and he's in a hole in the wall in the right side of this screen. Poor little Judas. I think Judas is the lowest aggression enemy in the entire game. I'm not sure if I've ever seen him attack. He just kind of walks forward and then dies. So, yeah, as long as there's no disaster here, we have secured 100% kills in this stage. This is another level that's just a complete breath of fresh air before the final onslaught, because stage 8's a real mess. Those computers that blow up do some amount of damage that appears to be inconsistent. I've noticed sometimes that when I roll through the computers, sometimes I take no damage. Like, I still take the stagger as if I've taken damage, but like my health is not visibly showing anything. And other times I take like 60% damage. So I don't really understand how those work, and I don't particularly care to find out. The one other secret in this stage is down here. You have to drop through the floor that the spotlight is shining on, and you can get a whole bunch of stuff. I think besides that and Judas, those are the only secrets in this stage. It's actually pretty disappointing that the Batcave has fewer secrets than anything else in the game. But that's how it is, I guess. Actually, that's not true. Stage 5 has 0 secrets. If I remember right. Let me see. Yep, Stage 5 has 0. Alright, so I guess the Batcave has 4 more secrets than the Ritz Gotham. That's about it. Alright, so the one scary thing here is that under very specific circumstances, you can softlock here. And I'm still not entirely sure how it works, but in the second wave of enemies, not the Rebel Rob and Nacho Kid wave. Nacho Kid, by the way, is a great thug name. But the next wave with Iggy and Arbuckle, there's a chance that... Oh, wait, not Iggy. Jinx. Iggy's in the next stage. There's a chance that these dudes can just walk off screen and never come back. And if they never come back, they never die. And if they never die, the elevator can't continue. So, I don't know if they like fall off a pit way off screen and the game just doesn't know. But it's something that can happen, and when it does happen, it feels horrible. But it didn't here, so that's good. So the dude here, Frankie, he is, I believe, the highest tier of aggression enemies in the game. So I think that, you know, I talked about this a bit earlier, I think when I was in Stage 3. I talked about how the enemy aggression works and how every enemy has its own distinct aggression level. I think that it's based on the training simulator. So this game has a bunch of different modes. It has the story mode, and then it has a 1v1 like versus mode, which is totally broken and no one should ever take it seriously. And then it has a training mode where it has like 14 or 17 different waves of enemies, and they just drop 2 at a time, and then you kill them and you go on. And the aggression just ramps up with the rank up to that maximum 17 or 14, whatever the number was. And then when you complete that, the game's just like, alright, cool. You did it. No glorious screen or anything. So I think that the enemies have distinct tiers of aggression from, you know, that 0 or 1 to 14 or 17, whatever that training mode level was. Because it's definitely a scale with a lot of different notches in it. That was actually really scary there. So the bombs that those masked thugs can throw actually do friendly fire damage. And it does a non-trivial amount. it's pretty easy for those enemies to kill their friends and sabotage your run. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Frankie is in the top 2 tiers of aggression, and I can't back that up with anything in the game's code because I didn't care to dig that deep, but based on my experiences, that's certainly what seems to be the case. Okay, so Stage 8 has a number of really scary screens. It has 3 failure points here. The first is in this screen. So there's one secret in this stage, and there's no percentage tracker at the end of this level, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it when I tell you that I got everything. But there's one secret in this stage, and it's at the far right of this screen. And to open it up, you have to uppercut an enemy or do a hard knockdown of an enemy onto the floor, and the floor will break open. But if the floor breaks open and the enemy falls in it, the enemy, I don't get credit for the kills. So I have to set this guy up in a super specific spot so that the uppercut breaks like the very edge of the trigger without him falling in. And then I have to shoot him with the gun and hope that he doesn't input read a counterattack roll and kill himself. So that's super, super scary, and the spacing on that is all hinging upon hitting him immediately as he spawns with the flashlight. Because if he spawns and like immediately rolls or jumps or knocks me down, I no longer have my spacing, and that becomes practically impossible. So, first failure point is behind us. It's weird. I don't know. Like, you break the floor and you end up in like a weird aquarium room. So, having done that, we have the elevator now. The elevator is normally really tough. In 100%, it's not that big a deal because there are so many more difficult rooms. But these guys can still show me the business. And again, there's really no danger here of failing the category as long as I collect the health before I kill the final guy, and that's never a concern because I'm just idling under the health spawns. What makes this difficult is that you just have no working room. You don't have room to jump around and, you know, flashlight a dude and run away. So I'm relying again on just like getting back rolls as my main source of damage and grouping the enemies that way. When I have a chance, I'll kick them or something. But I mostly want to back roll through enemies. Nice! The Wake Up Fireball. Remington is also a pretty high aggression enemy. He's probably like tier 3 or 4 from the top. He's pretty tough. Alright, so this screen is a mess. The only fortunate thing here is that when the floors break, they're not death pits. They are just damaging terrain. But the enemies here are really dumb. They're pretty high aggression. Well, no, they're probably like mid-tier aggression. But they're just dumb, and many of them will jump into pits and then never come out. So I'm doing a lot of camera manipulation to like just barely spawn enemies and kill them off screen. I'm controlling the spawn triggers very, very, very closely. And I'm controlling the triggers that break the floor very, very, very closely. So like, I want to spawn kick Rocky, because Rocky's reckless. He's super, super reckless. And it's a miracle that he didn't chase after me there, because normally he will. But yeah, I want to spawn kick him and just get him out of the way and shoot him. But he got the better of me there. Clegg is another one that is super low health and likes to jump in pits. And if things didn't change, I'm just going to damage boost my way across this. Yeah. And then just book it to the other side. And there's something about this setup that, like, every single time I did it in practice, and in this run, coincidentally, Oddball will chase me across the pit safely, because he has a ton of health and he's super, super aggressive. But the other dude, who was this, Killer Stan? I don't think we'll see. I think he might be Killer Stan. I'm not exactly sure. This dude will never jump after me, so I'm able to kill those two guys safely. And then Patino's the only enemy remaining here, and he's never going to be in danger of jumping in a pit because they're so far off screen. And again, clearing this room drops 2 pickups at the very, very beginning. And then we go into the final screen. And this screen is just another gauntlet type screen, like we saw in the basement of Stage 5. So, we have 16 enemies again. In the same type arrangement, just a really long horizontal room, and 4 spawn points. But all of these enemies have a lot of health. And they're all somewhere between, I would estimate, 3rd top tier and maximum rank in terms of aggression. So these dudes, like, I have no option except just to cheese them out completely and just do this really deliberate stun lock where I spawn them one at a time and just do flashlight into neckbreaker into flashlight into neckbreaker. And it's awful. Like, it's awful to watch and it's awful to play, but I have no other option. Like, these enemies are far, far too dangerous. And we'll see a good example of this, maybe in this wave. Yep, Dreyfus and, oh man, yep, there he is. Sean, that's him. Alright, so there's the whole attack. I took 50% damage, and then he threw it on me as I spawned again. There's another 2, 3 holes. 4, 5, 6. So really, really solid setups here. Really solid. Dude, Dreyfus had the plan. But the scary thing here is that, man, he's on point with these, dude. He's on point. And I don't really have an option here except just to take it, because this is like the final screen, the second last screen of the entire run. And I have to make sure that, that I don't lose one of these kills. And Sean is, with an aggression level like his, he's bound to throw a grenade. So I wanted to leave Sean alive. I didn't want to focus Dreyfus, because if I focused Dreyfus, I'd be getting his health low, and Sean would be free to throw grenades. So I had to focus Sean, which allowed Dreyfus open to just continuously throw the hole in the ground and mess me up. So I think they killed me there, what, like 3 times or something? So that's what happens when an enemy in this screen gets loose. So I think Tofa is enemy number 9 here. I think enemy 12 is my favorite dude. I think that's Flattenest. I think. We're gonna find out. Gonga. No, I don't think Flattenest is this one. I think he's in the final wave. Deeble, yeah. Alright, well, while we wait for Flattenest, this screen has 6 hologram things, I think. Here he is. Flattenest. What a great name, dude. That's, like, definitely a Yosemite Sam-ism. Definitely. The Rootin' Tootinest, Flattenest. Alright, so this has got, I think 7 hologram makers. Or I think 6, rather. But when you hit 5 specific ones, the screen ends. But they put power-ups in front of most of them. So I have to be really, really deliberate with my movements here to make sure that I don't activate them out of sequence, or don't accidentally activate an extra one, because then it becomes legitimately impossible to collect the power-ups without spawning the end trigger. So this is nerve-wracking because I've in practice lost runs here. I think this is my first run that actually ever made it to stage 8, so I don't think I actually lost any legitimate runs here, but yeah, I've certainly failed this stage as a result of activating these holograms too early. So we've got this one on the side. These jumps are absolutely horrible to make, by the way. Do I first try this? I think I do. Yeah, because I think I just let this one go, and yeah, sick, dude. Alright, bingo. And again, there's no score tally screen in this stage. When I was doing the routing, I did... I was able to keep track through the RAM values of how many pickups and secrets and whatnot the game counted for me. And OmniGamer found the table that the game expects for each stage. The table of like expected pickups and secrets and enemies and stuff. And the totals that I get in this stage, which is 46 enemies, 2 secrets, and 31 pickups, matches exactly what the game expects. So it doesn't even have the 5 pickup disparity that the other stages has. Nice, like, weird screen wrapping sprite effects there. That's weird, I never noticed that before. This screen is just straightforward. I think there are 4 pickups and then the boss rush, but I just do the same strats. This time I have the gun to fight Two-Face, so I just shoot him a bunch of times. And then Big Riddle, I just do these back kicks and force him into the corner. Back kick is quickest attack in the game and really long reach. And pretty decent damage, so it's just the best tool for dealing with Riddle. And it doesn't hard knockdown, so it's really good. And then we're gonna do Meaty Flashlight here, so that the Riddler never gets a chance to do anything. And GG. That's time. So, in total, we kill 383 enemies, visit 45 secrets, collect 234 pickups, and 16 blueprints. The other things that we unlocked with the blueprints were the homing batarang, which is mostly garbage, and I think the bat cuffs. I think those are a blueprint gadget, and those are actually pretty neat, but outclassed by flashlight and bat hologram and some other things. But again, sometime in the future, I'll make a more detailed guide and explanatory video going over all the gadgets and all the attacks in the game, and damage values and utility and all kinds of stuff like that. But now is not the time. So, yeah, I mean, all things considered, this was really fun to work on. There are a bunch of all secrets runs, individual runs on YouTube. Many of those use stage select, which lets you use any gadget at any point in any stage. It automatically unlocks all of them and equips all of them at once, and that lets you do things like use bat hologram and gun in the same stage, when normally those are mutually exclusive gadgets. They use the same slot. And none of those videos actually succeeded in getting 100% enemy kill, because an enemy jumped off a ledge or something. So I really liked the routing aspect, and I thought it would be a nice kind of like 100% video walkthrough of sorts. So it was a really interesting challenge. It definitely was, and it was fun to work on. The runs were pretty frustrating, though all of the failures were in very, very unique ways and pretty entertaining ways in hindsight. So yeah, I don't regret it. I guess technically this is the speedrun record, but again, as I've been saying throughout the run, it's more of a challenge run or a video walkthrough than a speedrun itself. This is my only completed 100% run. Every other run failed the category, and I don't plan to improve the time, so this is going to be it unless someone finds some pickups or something that I missed. And again, if that's the case, please let me know, because I'd be interested in hearing about it. Accuracy is very important to me. So, with that, I really thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time for whatever comes up next. Alright, take care, guys.